Picture this. You're sitting with your friends, other moms who have gone through a divorce or are contemplating, who maybe didn't picture their lives co-parenting, but are there with you. You're sharing your stories. You're inspiring each other, validating and challenging each other through your shared experiences. You're belly laughing, tearing up, and enjoying your favorite cup of coffee all at the same time. You don't judge each other. You empower each other to continue on your journey, to heal, and to just be you, whatever that looks like. Welcome to Co-Parenting and Coffee. Thank you for joining us. I'm Allie MacArthur.
And I'm Jillian Andre. We are both co-parenting moms, and we are excited to have you as part of our journey. I have a 7-year-old daughter and 3 stepkids from 10 to 17. I got divorced from my high school sweetheart when my daughter was 7 months old. I was a new mom, had to figure out parenting and survive. Since then, I've worked hard to become who I am today. My stats and stories will be shared more through our episodes, but I'll say I'm the happiest I've ever been and have an incredible group of women that I lean on, which is a big part of why I'm so happy. Allie and I met through Jane Does Well, a nonprofit that works with women that are going through a divorce. I run a support group on Friday mornings through Jane Does Well, and Allie was one of my very first members who I love dearly.
And I love you right back. Gosh, I didn't know that I was one of the first members until recently.
And, I know, that's so funny to me.
I was probably about a year into my divorce. I found Jane Does Well and found you all, and that, you really did become a lifeline for me. So I have 2 children. They are ages 7 and 10, and I share 50-50 custody with their father. I married their dad when I was 24, and we separated in 2020, right in the middle of an otherwise challenging time for all of us. We are now divorced and sort of well on our co-parenting journey. And so now, while the divorce was definitely a painful and really, really difficult time, I'm single, I'm happy, and I'm certainly thrilled to be sharing this journey with you all. So our inspiration for this podcast is really for you to picture yourself sitting around a table, sipping a cup of coffee, and chatting with friends who are all in different places with their families. We want to be really a resource and a source of support to build community where co-parents can come and feel less alone. And of course, talk about a little bit about coffee, which we both really love.
Yes, for sure. We're definitely talking about coffee. So each episode will introduce you to a special guest who has some expertise in the co-parenting universe. We are so excited today to welcome Christina Pavlina from Jane Does Well to our coffee date. She is co-founder and executive director of Jane Does Well and a mother of 4. Jane Does Well, if you don't know, is a 501c3 nonprofit in Massachusetts that focuses on support, educational programs, and a crucial support system to single women and mothers free of charge during a time of emotional upheaval and financial hardship. So we want to say welcome, Christina, and thank you so much for being our first guest.
Yay, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Allie and I are both members of Jane Does Well. That's actually how we met. Mm-hmm. And I run a support group for women with young kids going through a divorce through Jane Does Well. So we're very well linked to you and love you so much. We love what Jane Does Well is doing and couldn't think of a better guest to start us out. So the first question we always are going to ask is about coffee, of course. Mm-hmm. And what kind of coffee do you drink?
Well, I wish I could say I was a coffee aficionado. I love coffee. I don't find myself to be particularly good at making it, but I'm very fortunate that I have a sweet, kind boyfriend who makes me my coffee every morning exactly the way I like it. I know that he uses Italian roast, likes it strong. So sometimes I ask him to add a little something to make it less strong, but it's robust. And so it gets me going the whole day.
And what do you put in your coffee? Do you put cream, milk, coconut milk?
Milk and just one little drop of sugar.
Ah, perfect. I'm an iced coffee drinker, so I drink iced coffee. It's very New England. Like iced coffee all through the winter.
Go to Dunkin', get your iced
Yeah.
coffee. It has to be
Yeah.
like 900 degrees out for me to drink it iced. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the Starbucks hazelnut K-Cups. That's my ultimate favorite. But
My coffee is like jet fuel. Like people come to my house and be like, I don't like your coffee because it is strong
yeah.
and it would like, yeah. So we really wanted to start out talking, Christina, about your experience with co-parenting. And maybe you can just give us a little bit of your experience and how many kids you have, what ages they were when you got divorced.
Yeah. So, wow, when I got divorced, when I started the divorce process, let's say, I had a freshman in college, she was 19, a 17-year-old at the high school, he was a junior, a 13-year-old at the middle school, and a 7-year-old
Wow.
was, I think she was in first grade. So it was 4 children living very, very different lives. And we told my oldest that we were getting divorced when she came back from her spring break of her first year of college. So I would say it was really a fascinating, of course, extremely challenging emotionally. But the day that we told our children, it was fascinating in retrospect how differently they all took the news.
Right.
The oldest was like, when can I go back to college? I don't want to hear this conversation. The 17-year-old did not say a word. He had to internalize that. The 13-year-old burst out crying. She, was in middle school, and in middle school, it's tough. I mean, you are labeled, and you want to know how you fit in, and I think that she just thought now she's going to be different.
Right.
My 7-year-old was jumping from couch to chair, going, "Oh, we're getting 2 houses now." I mean, she was completely not understanding the message. So co-parenting, when you have one child or multiple children, is a challenge. Oftentimes, it's already a challenge in the marriage, right? Oftentimes, you're already experiencing the challenge, but somehow you're able to control it to some extent, or at least feel like you have some sense of control, because the other parent is off working or doing whatever he or she does, and you are kind of keeping things going and safe and so forth. But the real difficult part is when you now have shared custody. The shared custody piece is really hard, especially if you have taken on the role as protector. So that I found was particularly hard. And you just hope that your older children, have learned enough to know how to protect themselves. And I'm saying protector, and I'm assuming things that is not necessarily the case with everyone.
What's really interesting about your experience, like what I'm picking up, is like how your kids were in such different places developmentally. I mean, that is a lot of kids, I'm of course generalizing here, but a lot of kids are closer in age. So they're sort of closer in development. But as you're explaining how you told them and how different their reactions were, I mean, that is a whole nother challenge and a whole different, aspect to co-parenting. Because not only, that's true for when you're telling them, but it's also true for how you're co-parenting.
Yeah. I was just going to ask, how did that work for you, through the divorce and beyond, with your 4 very differently aged children?
Well, my college age children was in denial, and she just didn't even like coming home that much anymore because she wanted to pretend it wasn't happening. my 17-year-old was not really voicing an opinion either way, except that he is the kind of person who likes to fix. He thinks that everything can be fixed.
Right.
So, and I appreciate that.
Mhm.
I really appreciate that part of him, because I think that's commendable, but that is not their role so I felt he wanted to, kumbaya, we can fix this.
Yeah.
But so I think he might have felt quite disappointed that he couldn't get his parents back together.
Oh.
And then, the 13-year-old, she had to dive into something, and she dove into an activity that she was involved in, and that maybe became her outlet. She had this, like, she's a dancer, so her sort of ballet studio became her like second family almost.
Yeah.
Which maybe, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if it's extreme, then that's different. But I mean, that maybe isn't such a bad strategy to be able to deal with, big changes like that, to have a healthy outlet for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that did save her, actually, because it was a group of girls and some adults, teachers there at the ballet studio that kind of formed a sort of community for her, that she could feel like she was in a part of something that was healthy.
Mhm.
And my 7-year-old, to be honest, as long as she could still go to the birthday parties and do all the fun things, she was easily distracted. She did not seem to be as affected as the older ones. She doesn't even remember. Now she says she doesn't even remember us together as a
Wow.
whatever dynamic you had in the marriage, whether you had someone that you felt was like conflict driven or not, it's still hard to co-parent. And my experience was that whether it was wrong or not, maybe I was overly protective or whatever, but I felt like I had to try to protect my children from this experience that also isn't fair, because it also wasn't fair to me. I wasn't allowing myself to feel like I had to be super mom, and I had to be everything to everyone. And I did crack one day. I cracked in front of my eldest child, and she a couple of years later actually told me, when we were together, that we were on a mother-daughter trip, actually, and she said, that was really, really hard for me when you just all of a sudden sort of cracked and started crying, and you were upset, and you were like, do you know how hard this has been on me? And it's an interesting thing. At the time, I felt guilty that I did do that in front of her. And then later through therapy, I realized, wait, what kind of model, am I for my child, that she thinks that she can never have a breakdown?
I think that's so important to like recognize, and so many mothers, I think, do that. I mean, I'm sure you've that way before too, Allie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I like specifically remember a time when my daughter was taking a shower and she was like super tired, and she looked straight at me and said, I want to live with daddy. And I was wicked tired, she was wicked tired, and I just started crying. And this was probably a couple years ago. And she was, I think kids, and I think this is true for me too, like, you don't think your parents have feelings.
Right.
You don't think that they have, like, I don't know, you just think
Yeah.
they're like,
You're not people, right?
they're not people, they're just your mom. So like, I felt guilt, like kind of like you were saying, like I felt guilty that I like have this, like I was like, that hurt my feelings. Like it hurt my feelings that you said that. And after I was like, through therapy and through it's okay for your kids to see that you have feelings, like, and it's healthy even for them to know that you're like a person. But that's a really interesting experience.
Wow.
Have you talked about it with your daughter since?
Yeah, and she's, she is completely understanding at this point. She's older now, and she feels like I did, and that's all you could wish for, is that you feel your parent did the best they could do.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, that gives like us who have younger kids hope, right? That you
Totally.
And if you don't have, if your child has an experience where they are disappointed in the other co-parent, I learned through therapy that, even though, believe it was hard for me, but I learned to say he is doing the best he can. People are limited.
Yes.
And kids need to know that their parents love them, even with their limitations.
Totally.
Right. So important. Agree.
That's a really good point. And I've been in the position where at times one of my children will say to me something, something their father said or did, and I'm like, like, of course that happened, right? And so, but it's really hard to not to know what to say. And I think, well, dad's doing his best what a perfect way to respond. That's thank you for sharing that. That's going to help me, for sure.
Well, it's tough. Co-parenting is really, really tough, especially you have very different styles, and is not uncommon, right? It's not uncommon for two parents to have very different styles of parenting. One style might look like not parenting. And it's hard. Then I've, through the years now, I recognized when I've done a lot of overcompensating kind of parenting because of guilt. And I now recognize that also doesn't serve the children, because you can't continue with that forever. And you can't really make the reality is the reality, right? And you've got your two parents, you can't pick your parents, they are who they are. And so really just have to learn, this is what you got.
What does the overcompensating look like?
I like to use the expression where I have smoothed the path ahead and put little rose petals on it. Like, I've made their lives as easy as possible. You don't have to get a job this summer because you're going through a really tough time. I just want you to have a great summer, and I'm going to exhaust myself in having fun. Myself and my resources.
Right.
And because I know this is really tough on you, and we're in the middle of this battle, and you see that it's hard, and there's animosity between the two. So don't worry about anything. We've got it covered. We're just going to have a summer of fun. Well, that's not reality. And these kids, like, you want your kids to grow to be independent. You want the whole purpose, like, you want them to be able to take care of themselves. And I lost sight of that. I lost sight of the fact that, in many different ways, one instance is the summer of fun, but in many different ways, I would, they didn't want to, get their driver's license, and they liked mom to pull up to the front where, they get out of a heated car and walk right into the front door of the high school. Like, it was not convenient for me at all. But worst mom guilt is, okay, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be the one who's taking you, and, all of that. So, I guess maybe I was also doing it for me at the time, but eventually I realized that they also internalize that, and they think like, well, maybe I'm not capable of getting my driver's license. Or maybe you know what I mean? It's like,
I've heard, and I love this quote, but I think there has to be a balance. But like, I know that people say like, don't do things for kids that they can do for themselves. And I think that's like such a like amazing, like a perfect example is I was putting away groceries and I had my daughter helping me and she knew where everything went. And I was like, I didn't know you knew this. And it's like, I realized like, she knows a lot more than I'm like, I don't push her enough or have her help enough, or because I am like, and I think a lot of moms are just like a natural caregiver. Like I want to do stuff for her, but I also want her to be an independent person.
Well, I
So,
think you get used to doing everything for the kids when they're little. And then
right.
eventually at some point, especially as a single mom,
Mhm.
right? Or you know, you can't do it all. And it's a revelation I recently had. Like we're gonna have chores.
Right. Chores. And like they can do it. That's
Yeah.
the other thing. It's like,
Yeah.
I didn't know you do this. You can do this.
Teaching them skills.
Right.
Yes.
And actually they get, it's like they feel a sense of satisfaction
Right.
when they can do something themselves. So I mean, the other thing with co-parenting is that you worry about what's going to happen when they go to their other parent, what's happening over there. And I I know that, you know, both parents are, you know, there's no one is going to tell you that you have two parents that do things exactly the same way. So there's different ways of doing it. But I had a hard time with that other method of parenting. I really struggled with that a lot. You know, communication was not working because the other person had another take on it. And so what I noticed is that they actually were okay, that they could learn for themselves what how to deal with that. And that's basically life.
Even like at a job, you may have two different bosses that have two completely different styles, and you have to manage that. I mean, you know,
And how many teachers do they adapt to, right? During the week at school. So yeah.
But I really feel strongly that women need a group, and what you, Jill, and Allie are a part of, a network of women to talk about these things, about co-parenting and all of these emotions and struggles. And it's so important to have a network of.
It is. Even sometimes it's just a sounding board. It's saying like, this is happening. Am I being over the top right now, or is this an appropriate reaction? And having an honest feedback from other women who are kind of going through the same thing is so helpful.
Yes. And also like what should I do? I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. I'm paralyzed. I mean,
Or just like a cheering, like, I did this, and then everyone's like, oh,
yes.
you know, it's just so great. And I guess I have one more question for you. So if you're looking back at your co-parenting experience, what's something that you would do differently now?
I definitely would follow what Allie is starting Institute is I would get my kids, I would push them into more a growth mindset. I would push them more into learning skills, taking ownership of themselves, whether it's chores, whether it's you figure out how to sign up for the driving course. I think the reason for that is I wanted so much to help them. I wanted to smooth everything over.
Right.
So they didn't have to have any stressors. It also creates a dynamic where they then don't believe they are capable of doing it.
Right.
So, you know, that is my biggest thing that I wish as a parent I had sort of, not to the extent of what my mother did, because my generation was my mother's generation was that parenting was kind of not parenting.
Right.
Go out the door, you came home from school, drop your backpack, and I will call you in dinner, and I want to see you until then.
Right.
So,
The
and
good old days. No, just kidding.
yeah, and that was fun and everything. But it's funny, when I had my young kids, all the books and all the literature was saying, "Oh no, you need," it was a very like swoop in and be involved and teach them this and that. And so, I feel like, with these different generations, pendulums swing.
Absolutely. It sounds like the birth of mom guilt. I think we
Right?
named that the birth of mom guilt. We just found
Yeah, it
it.
is. It is. It is. There's somewhere there's a happy middle.
Yeah, I know, and I think we're constantly striving to find that, right? Because I the same thing. I want my daughter to be independent, but I also like to do stuff for her. So it's finding that balance where like she feels loved and supported and cared for, but also that she can do things for herself. So I think that's so hard balance, definitely.
Yeah, it is.
So Christina, I
But
want to go back to the thing you said about support and needing a group and helping each other. This is actually something that I personally am interested in hearing, but I think that our listeners will enjoy too. Tell us about what inspired you to form Jane Does Well, and how it came to fruition.
well, I really never planned to start this organization. It literally evolved organically. Once I got through the process, I had this one friend who was my lifeline. And I thought she was the only other person in Massachusetts who was gone through divorce. And I certainly was sure that I was the only one in my town of Wellesley to go through it. And so I really needed her, and she was there for me. And so once I got through the process and feeling good, feeling better, feeling stronger, I I started to hear, I guess, people were actually, marriages were breaking up, and they were starting to get divorced. And so I would reach out and I'd say, "Oh, you're going to want to talk to me. I know what this is like."
Yeah.
And eventually it was a coffee group. We had potluck dinners. We invited guest speakers, and it just grew just organically. I would literally go into a store and somebody would tap me on the shoulder and say, I think you're the lady I need to talk to. So my neighbor and friend, Sue Kissade, and I decided to let's bring this, have a name for this group that we have, our potluck group. And we did. In 2016 we formed Jane Does Well. We were very strongly believed in having a name that answered a question that we would always get is, am I going to be okay? It's a very scary process, and we feel strongly that yes, you are going to get through this. It's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done, but you will get through it. There is a side, but the magic is these women
Absolutely.
support each other, that become like a critical support system. And
That chills, yes.
yeah, I mean, we empower each other. We're such a caring community. We educate each other, right? We just support each other in every way. And I think that is the special sauce. It's what has now in 2023, we're over 1,200 members in Massachusetts. So we have grown exponentially without any marketing, but just word of mouth. Therapists, divorce attorneys will recommend Jane Does Well. And we do so much, which is incredible when, we talk about this. We have drop-in support, we have, support groups, we do educational workshops, and we do just a lot of meet and greets. We're doing, it used to be a face-to-face, now we're more on Zoom since the pandemic, but we are starting to go back and to form these geographical chapters. That's our 2023 initiative, what we're starting on. So we both just believe in this incredible empowerment that women provide to each other to get through this difficult time.
Yeah, I think Allie and I have definitely experienced that with Jane as well. And we just really want to thank you for starting, because it's just been like such an amazing support. And I guess when I was going through my divorce, which is 7 years ago now, I didn't have Jane Does Well and found you later on. I almost didn't even know what I was missing, and I think so many times in my group, we may get off the call and feel so good because we're able to share and really be vulnerable with each other. And sometimes it's hard on these calls. Sometimes we're laughing hysterically at something funny, and then the next minute we're all crying together. And it's just such an amazing community that you've built, and we just can't thank you enough for taking the initiative to do that.
It wasn't just me. It wasn't just co-founder Sue Kissaday. It really is just an engine. It's like renewable energy coming from women's need to talk to each other and lift each other up. And it's such a wonderful thing. I love what I do.
Yeah.
Every single day, I love what I do. And I know Jill and Allie, I know that you love what you're doing because you started this podcast. So it's anything you can do to lift mothers up, single mothers. Think about that. We are the ones who carry the world. I mean, we are caring for the next generation. We are not valued the way we should be valued, and yet we can do amazing things. And if we band together and we support each other.
Absolutely. One of the things that I just thought of, Jane Does Well had a lot to do with changing the child support guidelines. Can you talk about that a little? Because that's a huge thing for mothers, single mothers especially, and the financial difficulties and troubles that they go through.
When we started this committee in 2019, because we wanted to talk about what so many of us have experienced in the family court. So we expect to go to court to come to justice, and justice is supposed to be blind. And yet, day in and day out, we hear the stories of women feeling like the thumb is on the scale, like there's a power imbalance at play when you get through, or going through whether you're in court, whether you're going through the sort of divorce process, it could be mediation, whatever it is. All of a sudden you have come to a place where you feel like now things are going to be fair, and immediately you're running into roadblocks, right? And so we wanted to find out, that's happening to you? And that, we wanted to discuss it. So it started just from a conversation. And then we started to hear from members who were in the state of Massachusetts. They were being denied their rightful alimony. They had marriages, long-term marriages, and they were living off of child support, and explaining to us that it's not enough. They're not able to take care of themselves and their children living on child support. And we're like, wait, child support there's a calculation that the government puts together. So how is it that you're not able to take care of yourself and the children? So we did research. We did. and we have smart, brilliant women in Jane as well. And we researched it, and we also had the help of an economist at UMass Amherst and an attorney at the Department of Revenue. And so we researched it, and we figured out that child support had not changed, as it is federally mandated to be at least reviewed every 4 years. Child support hadn't changed in a decade. That meant that people were not getting enough child support based on the cost of living, which of course increased, and Massachusetts was one of the highest in the nation. So we created this report, and we submitted it to the Massachusetts Probate and Family Court Trial Court. They were looking at child support, happened to be in that window, and they listened, and they actually increased child support to over 1 million children in 2021.
That's so amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you know, like I said, women, you get it together. They're problem solvers. They roll their sleeves up. They're brilliant, and it's just wonderful. And so now we're working on coercive control, which is really the predictor of domestic violence. It is always the precursor to domestic violence. And there are 2 bills in the House and Senate that are written to expand the definition of domestic abuse to include coercive control, which is all of the sort of patterns of behavior, you know, isolation.
We can link information about coercive control in our group, so that if people, because sometimes I think a lot of women, especially, like, well, they're not hitting me, so it's abuse. I mean, I think people are coming around to it, but we can definitely link some resources and information about coercive control in our community. And I think that's such an important topic.
It's such an important topic. So yeah, we're just an engine that keeps moving along. We're all of our ideas, everything we do is generated by our members. So every event, every workshop is a member driven, the idea generated by a member. So it's a very wonderful network of women who just work to help each other.
I love it.
Christina, is it possible for people outside of Massachusetts to access Jane Does Well or similar resources in their state?
Yeah, I do not know of any other nonprofit that does everything we do. By the way, Jane Does Well is free of charge to all women. We feel strongly that we want to make it very accessible to all. So I do not know of any other organization. However, since we have had guest speakers from other states. For example, we had Tracy Shorn, who wrote, she's also known as the Chump Lady, and she's very popular. She wrote a book called Leave a Cheater, Gain a Life. And then we've had another author, Vicky Stark, who wrote Runaway Husbands. Since their books are so popular and they mentioned us, we are now getting members in many different states. So we got a handful of members in 25 different states. Our goal is to be able to have a Jane Does Well chapter in every state, but well, we'll see.
If they're in another state and they want to get connected, they can still register through Jane Does Well.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Just the times of the Zooms are obviously Eastern Standard Time, but you can join us anytime.
So what if you were sitting down with a mom who's just starting her co-parenting journey, as a single mom, what would you tell her?
I would definitely tell her it's going to be okay, that your child is going to be okay, or your children are going to be okay, and you're going to be okay, and you're going to get through this. There is the it is a very anxiety-ridden process, and it's easy to, in one instant, one thing that happens, it's easy to your mind go to the worst possible scenario. Mm-hmm. And if you remember that you are a very good parent, mm-hmm. and remember that your children are watching you. So what you think is going to upset them or create trauma for them for the rest of their lives is not necessarily what's going to happen. They will become resilient, which is okay, and they will be okay. But the most important thing is for moms to take care of ourselves, because yes. Our children are watching us, right? Yeah. And so if it's just keep things in perspective. The divorce process is going to twist you around. It's going to make you feel like you are never going to see air again, but you will. You will, and it's just one day at a time, and you're going to get through it. And there is another side, and you are going to be happy, and you're going to make new friends, and you're going to laugh, and your kids are going to be fine too. It's just, that's what I really want women to know, that this is just a page in the chapter of the book of your life. Like, this is just that moment in time, but there are many more chapters to come.
Christina, thank you so much. Thank you.
Grow Work was born because we love to continuously evolve, to discover new ways we can grow, and to help our listeners relate and have something to think about. That being said, our Grow Work is not meant to add to your never-ending to-do list. We want you to take what you want and only use it to add, never to take away from your experience. You will not be graded. You can write it, you can draw it, you can think about it, or you can simply leave it here. If you're interested in being a part of our Grow Work, we would love to share and see what you come up with in our Facebook group, where we discuss our episode, our Grow Work, and anything else that comes up in between. We're excited to see what you come up with. The Grow Work for this week is called Your Village. So we all know you need a village in parenting, never mind co-parenting. In your Grow assignment, we want you to identify all the common places you need support. Examples: mental health support, you need venting support, you need financial advisory support. Once these are all listed, we want you to fill in where you get that support from. We're hoping this exercise will help you, or us, because we're going to do this work too, see possible places we need to reach out for more support. Or would be nice to be able to tell your village members how and where they help you. It also may show you places you don't have support, but you don't really need it either. We have a list that we went off of to do our Grow Work this week that you can find on our Facebook group. But remember, we want you to be creative and would love to share yours.
Thanks for joining us for Co-Parenting and Coffee. This podcast is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal advice on any subject matter. If you liked our podcast, feel free to drop us a review. We'd appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you next time for a cup of coffee and a chat with another expert on co-parenting.